I'd like to talk about hope. And
Okay.
hope is one of the it seems like it's one of the bedrock values in Western culture. And
Yeah,
many psychologists speak about how important hope is for one's health and well-being.
sure.
And it seems like you have a slightly different outlook on hope. So how do you see or understand hope?
Our entire talk could have been devoted to this one thing. That's how vast it is. So I have to do it very much on the short. But the gist of it is this, it's clear that, I'm on the record now as officially declaring that being hopeful and being hopeless are not two opposites. They're twins. They're very close. Okay. What's the point? My point is both of them depend on hope. Hopeful depends on hope, obviously, but hopeless depends on hope too, just as much. In order to be hopeless, you got to have experimented with hope and found it a failure. See what I'm saying? It still has to be there. So I have an alternative, such as it is. I'm not much of a program guy, but for, at the risk of sounding like I have one in this case, my idea is hope-free, which is not a portion of either one of those two. It just opts out. It says, look, man, I tried being hopeful. It was interesting. It had its moments, but God almighty, it was doomed much more often than not. Okay, so then I tried hopeless. Nobody ever says it that way, but let's say it that way. I tried hopeless, tried it on, fit pretty good, especially after hope didn't work out. The natural thing to do seemed like the responsible thing to do. Seemed like I knew finally what I was doing when I was hopeless. Yeah, except there's something about hopeless that kept, like it was like the spin cycle that never ended. It didn't turn into anything. Hopeless begets hopeless. That's how it goes. Hopeless seeks out hopeless, right? You make a support group called Hopeless, and that's what you trade in every Monday night or whatever it is. So how about this? I tried hopeful, I tried hopeless. They each had their compulsions and their attractions and their uses. That's true. But it was a con, because the idea was everything is either one of those or the other of those. Everything can be understood as either the presence of one of them or the absence of the other. Hope-free, on the other hand, hope-free says, man, I tried them both. I gave them a fair shot, and something occurred to me that I didn't require hope in order to proceed. I know that's the party line, that you got to have hope, and then people won't finish the sentence. So I would often ask them, you got to have hope for what? Or you got to be hopeful. I said, no, finish the sentence. That is a finished sentence from the point of view of being hopeful, isn't it? It has its own reasons, doesn't it? It just works, doesn't it? It's like a sharp-dressed man. It just works. You don't have to elaborate as to why. No, you should. You should try. You got to be hopeful, or else what? Or else you'd be hopeless. Baby, if you are a hopeful person, you will be hopeless sooner or later. Isn't that how it goes? That's how it goes. And you go back and forth between them, and you call that progress. It's Donkey Kong or whatever. What was that old freaking crazy video game? The early one, whatever it was. That's what that is. Okay. So I'm saying this, we're in an insanely troubled time. I mean, you can barely keep your wits about you. You pay attention to any kind of news feed, you go out of your mind. So now you look for all kinds of distractions as an antidote to the news feed, and now you go out of your mind, and so on and so on. Okay, so you got to stay hopeful. Really? To do what? What's being hopeful doing for you now? It's a crazy time. It's not an antidote to the crazy time. If you're a real citizen, which is what I'm pleading for now, not an opt-out specialist, a citizen now, that means you're in, right? That means we can count on you for the heavy lifting. Do you got to be hopeful to be a citizen of a troubled time? It sounds like you do until you start wondering about that got to part. Can you do the heavy lifting without hope? Not hopeless, hope free. Can you do the work and not ask to be paid first? Because that's what hope is. Hope says, I got to feel positive about the outcome, or I'm not going to work on behalf of the outcome. That's hope. It doesn't sound hopeful, but that's how hope actually works. Got to be hopeful first. Got to have the upside in view, right? Got to be positive. But wait, we're in the shit. What do you mean we got to be positive? I'm positive we're in the shit. Is that what you mean? No. Positive is an alternative to being in the shit. No, it isn't. It's truancy, right? So how do you occupy your God, if I can use the phrase, your God-given place in the shit? Because we're in it now. By the accident of birth, we're in it. It's never been like this for near as I can tell, right? How confounding it is to keep your bearings and imagine what a properly, deeply well-lived life could possibly be in a time like this. You don't need hope to get your bearings. What you need is a willingness to occupy the fact that you were born to a troubled time. You see, maybe that's not an accident. Maybe that's not what your generation call random. You know, one of the favorite words I keep hearing. Random is like, maybe it's not random that you were born to a troubled time. And maybe it's not punishment either for bad karma. Maybe being born to a troubled time means that the troubles of your times needed the likes of you. Maybe that's what it means. Maybe the troubles of the times stand a chance of being ameliorated because the likes of you were born to them. And if you're willing to take up the citizen's work, maybe the troubles of your times, maybe they take a little bit of a hit for a change. See, that's the plea I make. I'm saying this to you, and I feel a lump in my throat to say it. Okay, speaking of urgency, but I mean this more deeply than I can say. Maybe being born to a time like this is not affliction for us. Maybe it's an assignment. You can undertake that understanding absolutely free of hope. You don't need it to be able to proceed. Case closed. Next case.